Hey everybody, it's me, the Happy Cabbie, and suffering from a little bit of laryngitis. You want to talk about it? Anyway, if you haven't seen my previous video, eulogy for my brother, who did pass away very recently, go ahead and watch that. It mostly tells just the positive stuff. Because, I mean, there's always the good and the bad and stuff like that, but when it comes to a eulogy, you always want to stay positive. But anyway, I was just going through, I mean, look at this. I didn't realize I had this much medication, but apparently I do. So, anyway, I got this, I got this, I got this, I have these, and this I don't use, just because it has a rather unpleasant side effect. So, yeah, I don't use that one. But the other ones I do. And they're not anything like really major or anything like that. You know, I mean, there's nothing in here that says don't ever operate heavy machinery or anything like that. You know, just you know, I mean, apparently, like this one right here is children's aspirin, 81 milligrams. Why am I didn't even look at it. I just handed the prescription in, and it's like, why can't I get this over the counter? It'd probably be cheaper for me. But anyway, that's what that is. Now, my brother did have, you know, he was an absolute genius. I mean, you could say, what is the largest mountain in Russia? And what is the elevation? He would know it off the top of his head. He didn't need to look it up. He had an encyclopedic type knowledge of just the most random trivia you could ever come up with. You know, you could say, you know, how long is the Great Wall of China? He would know. He would know these type of things. And you could give him the most complicated problem that would take a college student a couple of hours to figure out. He could just do it. He wouldn't even need a pen and paper. He would just give you the answer off the top of his head. He was that brilliant, but he was also clueless when it came to common sense. I mean, just simple, ordinary tasks. He was dumbfounded by them. So, and the other thing is he and I are quite different. You know, I like being out and stuff. You know, I mean, for example, I love the camera, but this is one of the reasons why he never appeared on the TV show Jeopardy, because he wouldn't be able to deal with being in front of a national audience. He would freeze. But sitting at home, he could watch the show. He would know all the answers. Any type of game show where you had to know facts and stuff, he knew all the questions. He knew all the answers. He was that good. But anyway, growing up, he was a year and a half older than I was. And here's where it comes down to perfect poetic justice is what I call. Those of you who have older siblings, older brothers, older sisters, you're familiar with the curse of the younger child known as hand-me-downs, where basically the older children get the new clothes and you get what's left after they've outgrown them. Well, tables were turned when basically he was in a position where he needed some clothes and I was getting some new clothes and I gave him my hand-me-downs. Now the only problem is I'm 6 feet, he was 5'8", so my clothes didn't exactly fit him too well. So that's how he came by the name Droopy Drawers. He became known to everyone as Droopy Drawers because I made it a point to make sure he was known as Droopy Drawers. And Droopy Drawers was his name. So, in fact, that's just what we're going to call him. I did decide not to show any of the video that we did in 2010 just because, I mean, there's some personal things I could take out, but his physical appearance, I think, would be fodder for a lot of people to make sport of. In that he was not the most, I mean, not that I'm the cover of GQ or anything, but still I try to do things like I brush my hair, I, you know, keep my beard nice and trimmed, although I do need to trim it again. It is kind of getting kind of bad and stuff. And I noticed that my teeth were starting to yellow again, so I need to go down to a dentist and have them whiten and stuff like that. But he wouldn't do stuff like that. He would just like walk out the door and it's like, okay, there we go. But let me fix this up a little bit here. Long hair, I love it. He worked at the post office, and by looking at him, you wouldn't guess that he worked at the post office. Unfortunately, I hate to say this about him, but he looked like he got his clothes hand-me-downs from, the stuff that the homeless people would throw away. And when I first saw him in 2010, it's like I remembered, what he used to look like back many years ago when I saw him last, and he was still, You ever see the movie Harry Potter? You remember Hagrid? Yeah, imagine that. Real similar to Hagrid. Edible napalm is another one that he bears a somewhat resemblance to. Just and facial hair and just wowzers everywhere. But anyway, he also had a very pronounced nose, a little bit larger lips and stuff like that. And so anyway, I used to tease him all the time because I would draw little caricatures of him, little cartoons and stuff. And I got a kick out of doing that. But anyway, that's just brothers jiving each other. Growing up, he loved his heavy metal music, and he would dance and sing to that music while growing up behind closed doors. He had his own room, I had mine, and it sounded like when he would dance and sing to the music, he would wear the headphones and crank it up, and he would just go. And one day, I just barged into his room. And it turns out that's exactly what he was doing. He was jumping up and down, going, and it's like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm singing. It's like, no, you're not. You're not singing. And then one day, I was outside the hallway, standing right outside his bedroom room, and I started doing that. And my brother come out and was like, what are you doing? And it's like, well, I'm impersonating you. And then, so it's funny. And then my mother said, it's like, hey, if you're going to do that singing, do it in your own room. She thought I was my brother. My impersonation was that good. But anyway, let's see. Other things is he enjoyed his wrestling. We started watching wrestling when we were both in high school. I lost interest. He kept up his interest. He loved wrestling. He loved following WWF, now known as WWE. He also loved WCW when it was on TBS before McMahon bought it out, I think. And he just loved that stuff. He loved his heavy metal, and he got pretty big. But he eventually withered away slowly. And I'm thankful that I don't have the memory of him all withered away on that hospital bed. I'm thankful that the memories I have of him was when he was still up and at 'em walking around. He did 4 years in the Navy, but his ship, even though it was designed to be a munition ship, it hardly ever left port. He actually, you ask any military person, they'll tell you how rare this is. He got leave every weekend. I mean, they called the building Building 35. That was the nickname the Navy had for his ship because it never left port. It did one cruise around Asia, but then the rest of the time it was just right there in port, and that's what he did. So. Then, of course, he also attended a community college for a couple of years, and then, of course, went into the post office for about 9, and then, of course, well, the rest is the rest. All in all, I would say the world was better off having him in it. I mean, he wasn't like a bad brother. I mean, there's you hear some people talk about their brothers and stuff. No, he was a good brother. I'll say that, and I think I was a good brother to him. And he died in the hospital. Excellent medical care. The Navy's going to pay for his funeral and all that good stuff, and because that's what the Navy does. And I guess that's about it. So anyway, I just thought I'd share a few funny little anecdotes about my brother. I didn't really want to include those in the eulogy, but hopefully you guys know a little bit more about him. I don't want to go in too much detail about him because even while he was alive, there were people trying to find out who he was. And I'm pretty sure I was able to keep his identity a secret. To my knowledge, I did not hear about anybody finding out what his real identity was. And that I'm happy of, because there is some pretty weird sickos out on the internet. There's a few people that had some guesses as what his name was, but to my knowledge, nobody ever found out who he really was. But anyway, regardless, he's gone now. So, and that's the thing. I mean, regardless of your religious beliefs, whether you believe in heaven or whether you don't, there's nothing left in the body. I mean, the body is just flesh. Once death takes place, is gone, and you can't dwell on how tragic someone's death was. You can just remember, it's like, well, you got to honor a person how they lived. Did they lead a good life? Did they hurt anybody? No, he never hurt anybody. He always, just did his own thing, kept to himself. Never really socially active either. If he had a friend, that person had to pretty much insist on being his friend. He was kind of a recluse that way. But anyway, yeah. It is kind of surprising. It does make you think. It's like, wow, he's 1.5 years older than I am. Pretty much the same conditions, and it's like, is that going to happen to me? I'll tell you one reason why I don't think it will. A couple of years ago, I decided, you know what, I'm going to start going for some walks, and I'm going to start eating a little bit better. And yeah, I am still big, and because I do unfortunately have a sweet tooth. That's where a lot of this comes from, my sweet tooth. But my blood pressure is perfect. That is one thing that he did have. He did have hypertension, but my blood pressure is spot on. I do have some of the other stuff that he had, but I am getting better. I'm taking care of myself. I remember when I was in a hospital earlier a while ago, and I think I told you about this in the last video. It's like I woke up and there's a priest in my room, and I look up and it was like, what is this priest doing here? Did he just perform last rites on me? So anyway, I was like, hi, how are you? And we began talking. He was a nice enough fellow and all that good stuff. But when there's a priest in your room, you kind of take notice of stuff like that. But anyway, I guess I'm just rambling, I guess. This video's gone on for long it is. And for those of you that have sat through this, just mention onions in the comment so I can know, how many people actually watched it all the way through. Just mention the word onions somewhere in your comment. So anyway, you guys have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.